So I am Rue Anderson. I am the founder of exceednutrition.com and exceedmasterclass.com. That's what I do. They're both online fitness businesses, which I know your guys are super interested in as well. And really, it's started now for myself about 7 years ago. So I think I'm going to push into a couple of months' time, like my 8th year online, which is, I don't know. I just remember feeling like I just started it. And now I'm like, 8 years ago? That's a long time. So yeah. It hasn't always been that way. I haven't always been in the fitness industry. I started out as I got my degree as a survey engineer, land surveyor, whatever people call it these days. And I got my degree in that. And it wasn't because I really wanted to be a survey engineer or in that industry really at all. I just didn't know what else to really do. My plan was, my plan to join the military and become a pilot.
That's incredible.
Yeah. You know, when you ask a kid, like, what do you want to do? And they're like, I want to be a doctor, lawyer, pilot. Yeah, pilot was mine. So I had this idea, I'm going to just go and join the military, become a fast jet pilot and be like Tom Cruise in Top Gun. I thought I had it all worked out. So I went to university. Someone said, this looks like a good course. I said, okay, I'll do it as well. Went and did this. At the end of that, when I was in university, I actually joined the University Air Force. So it's the RAF. And so I was kind of like getting the wheels in motion to become Tom Cruise. And then I realized once I got into the reserves there through university that I didn't like it. I didn't like the military. I wasn't a military man and I wasn't for me. So I came out of university with this degree going, shit, I'm not going to be Tom Cruise. So I better get a job in this degree that I've just got, right? That was my only option then, all of a sudden. So I started working as a survey engineer for about 4 years, working for one of the biggest civil engineering companies in the world. Taught me a lot. But I also hated it. I hated the corporate vibe. I hated being in the office. I hated being around people I didn't want to work with. I hated having a boss. I hated having no influence on my wage and my salary. It was dictated by the person above me, no matter what I did. I never got a well done, nice work, pat on the back, none of this. And I just got really, really bored with it. At the same time, I was getting more and more into my own bodybuilding, my own health and fitness. That was my passion. That's what I did when I wasn't working. And I started competing in natural bodybuilding. I was doing powerlifting. I was doing all of the shows. And I also then, with that, came a real interest in nutrition for me personally. I had a few health problems I needed to sort out, just simple things like digestive system problems and things. And that really led me down an educational path around nutrition. I got really hooked on that. And then when I was working as the engineer, I just started doing qualifications. I started getting certifications. I started studying. I started posting about my own sort of experiences on the social media pages and stuff. And I got to this point where I thought, right, I'm ready to make a career in the fitness industry. And it took me quite a few years to build up to this. It really did. It was on the cards for a long time. And I put it off for so long, Ash, that it got to the stage where it got for me now or never. It was my fitness industry or never. And I really did go all in on going into the fitness industry. I quit my job, handed in my notice. I sold my car. I sold my flat.
So that's literally all in. Literally.
I got rid of my girlfriend. Like I cut all ties, all responsibilities, everything. And I started my fitness business. But at the time leading up to that, as I said, I was studying it for a few years. I realized that, okay, I had a decent job as a survey engineer. I did get paid a decent salary. I had it pretty cushy. It was okay, right? In the grand scheme of things. I realized then that becoming a traditional personal trainer was not the best career move for myself. I could see from friends or people that I'd got to know over the years that it was tough being a personal trainer. You know, you're going from self-employed to self-employed one-man band, trying to look after all of these clients, trying to get them incredible results and run a business. and it was tough. So I realized then, I was watching a few people as well, got to know some other people in the industry through events and competitions and things. And a couple of them were doing the online side of things at the time. So I thought, this is a much better idea. These guys were sitting at home, creating some blogs on a Tuesday afternoon, right? While as a PT, I would have been in the gym doing sessions or sitting around waiting for people. So I went down the online fitness business route when I went into the industry from the word go. And I got started. I moved into a little flat share. There was like 6 of us in this little flat. I had this little tiny room, just my bed, and I just had this laptop on my knee, and I just start cranking away, doing the things that we typically first think about when we're trying to get an online business going. Thought I needed to get some big website into place. Thought I needed to post on social media 5 times a day. And I just started doing all of this stuff. And yeah, I'm very grateful, and we can probably chat about it, but it did work. It did work. I started to get clients online. The business started to grow. We started to gain some good traction. We got sort of recognized within, particularly in the UK industry, pretty quickly there as well. And that was fantastic. And now, of course, I was able to grow a great audience of fellow fitness professionals who've enjoyed my work over the years. And now really my focus is on educating and helping fitness professionals with their businesses and with their clients.
That's so cool. That's an awesome.
So there you go. There you go.
It's almost like you practiced that before. It's just
a couple of times.
I'll tell you what I find incredible about that story is kind of the ballsy approach that you had to that. The kind of like just jumping straight in there, almost taking what you had in your life, which is pretty much a kind of custy life, isn't it? I mean, you've got a decent job, obviously a girlfriend at the time, and everything was kind of falling into place. And then because you just wasn't that happy with what you was doing, it's like, I'm going to turn all this upside down. I'm going to put all that away, and I'm going to do something different like this, something you're passionate about, something you really enjoy. I mean, just talking about that just a second, just that on my own interest, really. It's how was that? Would you think that's a good approach to do? Do you think sometimes, looking back at that, you're glad you kind of just said, all right, I'm going to throw all this side of my kind of life away, if you like, and go down this route? Or would you have done it a little bit different if you're going to do it now? Would you take a bit more time? Would you try and almost be like the monkey? Would you kind of like hang on to one branch and get a firm grip on the other before you let go? Or would you actually do the same?
Well, I believe that it comes down to almost a personality thing, in that I am pretty much a guy who is all or nothing with something. If I get a real idea into my head, that's it. I'm off. I'm all in on it as well, if I'm really, really interested in it. So if that's kind of your personality, and you've got that sort of drive there and that sort of almost OCD, obsessive type behavior, which I definitely possess, then maybe that route is okay for you, because you're going to go all in on it, and it's either success or fail for you. Is it what I recommend to everybody? Absolutely not. I took a risk. I took a big gamble, and business is a risk and a gamble. And that's what really entrepreneur means. It's taking on these financial risks for the hope of success around a business offer, an idea, right? So, there is some risk involved. There's pros and cons, some very big pros and some big cons to going all in like I did. The biggest pro is that I suddenly could devote all my time and all my energy and all my efforts into my business. I didn't have another job. I didn't have 20 PT clients in the gym. Yeah, I wasn't like, it was a full-time gig for me. And that was a big pro. I was able to really get ahead of the pack quite quickly for that reason, I believe, in that I was devoting more time to it than other people. Well, the biggest con likely is that if it doesn't work for you,
you're back to square one again.
You're back to square one again. You've quit your job. This thing's not worked for you. It could be a difficult situation for you, depending especially if you didn't do what I do and cut all your ties, and you can't just get rid of your mortgage, and you can't just sell your kids. So I was, my situation was very unique, and my personality. So.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. There's a lot of people, I do get asked that quite a lot. A lot of people, you hear a lot of people online, especially on the kind of FitPro coaching side, that will always say, just drop it all and go into it. And I was kind of curious what your thoughts were on that, which is quite interesting. Now, I kind of feel the same sometimes. It is a very ballsy thing to do, to go in, just drop everything and go straight into it. But yeah, I think I completely agree with you there. I think if it suits you, you've got the right kind of personality, and you know you're going to go all in for it, and you understand the risks, it's probably a good thing to do. But yeah I think if you do have responsibilities, it's something that needs to be taken quite seriously.
Yeah, there is, for sure. And there is nothing wrong with taking the slower route. No. Nothing wrong with working on your online business part-time, on an evening, on a weekend. You know, compared to when I got started, the knowledge out there is so much more. Like your group, you know, you can tap into these resources now that give you that advantage. Whereas I was spending, 7, 8, 9 years ago studying it before I even got into it, like just trying to acquire some of this knowledge that's so freely available now in podcasts and webinars. That wasn't available then. So I had more testing time. I had to, ClickFunnels and lead pages didn't exist then, right? So I had to hire a web designer to put these pages together for me and stuff. So I think you can do it a lot quicker now, and may not even necessarily dictate that you have to do this full time.
Yeah, cool. So when you first sort of started out online, you kind of went into, what were your expectations? Did you have any, or what were they, if you had any?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, and maybe something we chat about more. But my intentions and expectations of going online was to purely get out of this job that I was working in at the time as a survey engineer. For me, my online business would have been a success if I was able to just stay out of that job. I had enough to not go back to working as a surveyor. And I remember plotting out my income goals for the first 12 months with my business. And I remember at the end of 12 months, I wanted to match what I was earning per month as the engineer, so that I could match it. And I could say that was a success, right? Like, I don't have to go back to this job. Yeah. And that really, it was my expectations. And it was for many, many years, Ash, that I just was running this business with the primary focus, of course, deep down reason is that I didn't want to go back to that job. That's what drove me to continue to make it better. It's not that I wanted more money or I wanted more to conquer the world or anything like that. I just simply wanted to, and I still do, really keep improving things to make things a success, not just now, but 5, 10, 15 years into the future, hopefully.
That's quite incredible. When I kind of sort of hear your name and say your name, a lot of people know Rue Anderson or know of Rue Anderson from the books you've done, your podcast, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. But to have such kind of, like, I wouldn't say simple, but humble expectations when you first started doing this to what your businesses seem to grow to now is quite incredible, really. I mean, why do you think that is? Why do you kind of think Exceed Nutrition kind of went from the strength to strength that it did when you kind of started in that business? What do you think caused that, led to that?
Yeah, and it's really simple, and it's probably really boring. Consistency.
That word.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it? Health, fitness, wealth.
Yeah.
Everything. Look, it is. Like I said, nearly 8 years in now, I have been showing up pretty much every day to the business, looking to be productive and move the needle each day. And when I say each day, 5 days a week, in my business, and do something that day, each and every day, that would hopefully move the needle, or at least is accumulating to something that will move the needle in a couple of weeks' time or a couple of months' time. And that really is, looking at the overarching success of things, that's got to be really it.
Yeah. I can imagine you literally do see it everywhere, don't you? Like, as you mentioned at the start, like, even if the coaches and stuff and the trainers watching this now will probably say that exact same advice to their clients. You've got to be consistent and just slowly, small steps to keep moving the needle in the right direction will pretty much get to where you want to be. And I think applying that same logic that you do with your clients or do people's clients to your own business, it just seems logical to me. It seems a logical progression to do, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's not the first time that I've said that. They kind of run in parallels, I believe, in getting the health and body you want and getting the business and freedom that you want, I believe they run very, very parallel. And I think that's why quite a lot of fitness folk do make pretty good entrepreneurs. And that we've learnt these abilities to be patient, to be consistent with our nutrition and with our exercise and with our progress, and getting up and doing that bit of training every day and what have you, and restricting ourselves maybe around certain temptations like late nights and overeating and stuff like that. And that those disciplines transfer really well into running a business as well, because we've practiced all of that. And yeah, what a lot of the trainers are telling their clients, they could do with implementing themselves in their businesses perhaps a little bit more too.
Cool. So that kind of idea of consistency in doing that, I know you mentioned a little bit earlier on how you kind of, you think, I'm going to go online, you sat there with your laptop and you just, post all the time, you did all this stuff consistently all the time. Was you aware that you was doing that? Or was this some kind of like light bulb moment or breakthrough moment that thought, hang on, this is working, this is what I need to do? Or was you quite consciously aware that I need to do this in order to get where you wanted to be?
At the first little while, it was really a case of almost feeling blindfolded. And it was just a case of kind of feeling around, doing a few things, a couple of posts over here. Oh, Pinterest is the latest thing. Let's go over here. Email. Okay, let's try email. Let's try webinars. Let's try a challenge. Let's try events. Let's try public speaking. Let's write a book. Let's do a membership. Let's do a course. I've done it all over the last 7 years. So pretty much blindfolded a lot of the time. I have had my mentors. I have been into groups and into, business forums, and, I access good information and study stuff. But ultimately, I still believe that comes down to taking that information and, processing that to how you see it and how you want to create your business. And that's kind of the way I have done it. And it's really why we have the sort of products and services that we have now. So yeah, it was a bit of a blindfold and try and get to the door blindfolded. And I feel that's really benefited me. It was the hard way, perhaps, but I think it's really benefited me in the role that I am now for fitness professionals, in that I have had a bit more experience. It wasn't just, I built a 7-figure business in 12 months. Absolutely not. I'm probably the complete opposite of that. I've got there by slowly figuring things out, slowly but surely, over the last number of years.
I suppose something said about that, isn't the more kind of routes you can take, and some will be successful, some will be failures, but whichever way you go, there's lessons to be learned. I think a person that's gone through these different routes and had this many lessons is in a much kind of better position, I think, to maybe try and help other people do the same thing, because at least you can have a little bit of empathy with kind of what they might be going through, the thought process they're going through when they first start on this. I think it's kind of a nice thing to have compared to what some people might necessarily have had their experiences and stuff in the past.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
You've mentioned before in a couple of interviews that you've done in the past, and especially in your podcasts and stuff, about a team and surrounding yourself with the right people and getting involved with the right people. How did that happen with your teams? You mentioned that you've been consistent, you're doing all this kind of stuff. When did you get to the point where you're thinking, okay, now I need to get some help, I need to outsource this or bring somebody in to come help me do this? What happened, and can you tell me a bit about that?
It was a funny old situation, actually, when I hired my first full-time staff member, and that it was actually my girlfriend.
Well, I know exactly how you feel there. I work with my wife.
Okay, there you go, right? So it was like I started the business and I met her at that same time as well. So it's really just gaining some traction. And at the same time, her name's Alex, and she was working in this job doing night shifts. She absolutely hated it. And I could also relate so much for that, because it was where I was 6 months prior, perhaps. And it was disturbing my work as well, her night shifts. So I was trying to look for a solution. I was like, how can I sort this out?
How can I help me and her at the same time?
How can I help me? Yeah. Always looking after number one. I knew I needed help. You know, I realized that really very quickly that you can't run a significant business on your own. I don't believe so anyway. Maybe you can, but you're going to be crushed. So I realized, well, okay, let's hire my girlfriend. And I took her on full time. And I remember sitting like the first couple of weeks being like, she was like, what do you want me to do? I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I know I need help, but I don't really know what, because you can't do anything yet. So that was a big learning curve and a big experience. But once I brought Alex on board full time, like really now she has her entire own product. Even, you know, she's thinking like an entrepreneur now. She's totally in control of our client recipe packs and everything that gets created and produced and output through that membership site there. It's nothing to do with me. I just have to sell it.
Yeah, I just got to sell it and be the face of it all.
I just have to pretend. I just have to take all the glory and sell it.
Yeah.
And then I realized, well, you know, as the business continued to grow then as well, that we needed to fill other spots in the business, like particularly with running a membership site. We have a lot of members, a lot of customers in the business. So a customer support agent was a perfect fit, right, for our business. And also we needed like an assistant as well, like a virtual assistant for sticking on the podcasts, uploading the videos, you know, creating little documents and checking over things. And so we also saw a gap there for someone in the business. And then, of course, online, you're creating all these resources and things. You just start to see these little gaps in the business. You think, can someone else do this better than I can? And we could outsource it. And I think when you get to that stage, and of course, there has to be some money coming in, of course, before you can start outsourcing things. But you just find these little gaps where you think, if someone else could do this better than I can, we can hire for it. Let's do it. And it's been a game changer for me, of course, going from one person to, I think we're now like 5 full-time team members. Oh, yeah, cool. 5. And that's really nice. I'm not looking to try and build up some huge team with dozens of people. Absolutely not. I think we're at a really nice point for where we want to be. And everyone's got their own skill sets, and they can help me each day do a better job in creating our products and services and serving our customers. Yeah,
that's so cool. I've literally just started to build a small team now with a VA, and of course my wife can start to come with it. It just literally revolutionized things a little bit in terms of the business, like how much time it tends to free up, so I can actually focus on the stuff that I know I'm good at. More than anything else, I can imagine it made a huge difference when you first started doing that. Just quick, and talking about that team side of stuff. So you built a team up. Obviously, it's an online business. Are your team remote, or do you all work together in the same place? How does that work? How's that kind of work?
Yeah. I've decided to go down a remote team. So I'm here in Barcelona right now, and my team, for the most part, are in the Philippines. So we got a small group of Filipinos over there who are absolutely awesome. Cannot speak highly enough of the Filipinos and their work ethic and their friendliness. And just, we are working online together. We meet. We meet typically once a year. Just, I think about, what was it, maybe 6 weeks ago, we were all in Bali together in Indonesia.
Oh, cool.
And that was epic. So the Philippines is right beside Indonesia. So we shipped them over from there. We shipped ourselves in from Australia, which we were doing a bit of a tour around. And we just got to know each other, went out for a couple of bintangs. And yeah, it was just really nice. But for the most part, Slack is our office.
It's all about Slack.
It's all about Slack.
I know it's going to go for a little bit of a tangent there, but you've mentioned quite a few places here, like Burleigh, Australia. You're obviously in Barcelona now, and obviously, I can tell from your accent, you're obviously not Catalonian. So, is travel a big part of your life, or has it been a big part of your life over all of your life, past few years? You obviously seem to like to travel a lot.
Yeah, I suppose it's become more glamorous or exotic over the last couple of years. But I suppose looking back, I have done a lot of traveling. I am from Ireland originally, but I left Ireland when I was 18. And I've never returned. I mean, I've went to say hello to family stuff, but I've never lived there again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just in case anyone thinks I'm really rude.
Yeah, just I'm never going to see you all again. I'm off.
I'm gone. So like I haven't lived there. So I have really for the last, I'm in my 30s now, for the last 16, 17 years left home.
Mm-hmm.
And I've traveled, I lived in Scotland, and I've lived in England, and I've lived in the Netherlands, and I've been all over Europe into France and Germany, and I've been in Italy, and now I'm in Spain. So yeah, I have done quite a bit of traveling over the last few years, but it was about 3 or 4 years ago that I made a big change from the United Kingdom to Europe, to Central Europe anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And that just allowed me to have a bigger base of traveling. You know, it's much easier to get around here and to zoom about. And yeah, I've been to just spent there 2 months in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did a month in Indonesia. And last year we did a couple of months in Indonesia as well. So yeah, I do a lot of traveling, I suppose. And a lot of people tell me that's where they would like to get to. And that's why it's an interesting topic. And I agree. Like if you had asked me a number of years ago when I've been doing this, I would have been like, whoa, no way. You know, it wasn't my goal. And I know now that it is a lot of trainers' goal is to travel, and that's online business stuff can give us that freedom. It really can. It wasn't my goal. Again, the traveling stuff is really interesting. It's so much fun. It opens me up as a person. I expand my mind, and I think it makes me better at what I do.
Mm-hmm.
There's some cons to it as well. It's not that easy to be on the road for months and months. We all have our home comforts. We all like our little homely things, our little routines, and maybe we've got pets, and maybe we've got family, and it can be quite difficult, even more so than to travel with those things, right? So again, I've kept my sort of ties pretty minimal. I'm a pretty minimal guy. I suppose minimalism would be definitely something I am pretty for, and you know, do within reason. But the cons with that as well is that when you're traveling and when you are working, which I am doing, these aren't just holidays.
Yeah.
I'm not just on holiday. I am working, and I'm working a very typical routine that I would anywhere. And when you're doing that, you're potentially burning the candle from both ends. Yeah. As in, you're traveling, you're out, you're exploring, you're eating out more, you're staying up late, you're meeting new people, you're not in your sort of usual environment, so that could be stressful. Maybe you're missing something that you need that you'd have at home, so things aren't quite as good, like the internet's just not as fast, the bed's not as comfy, so you're having bad night's sleep. And this stuff adds up over time, right? When you're away for weeks or months at a time. So yeah, you have to be careful with the traveling as well. And it's epic. You know, if you get the opportunity to do it, go and do it at least for a year or two. Go off and do it. And the online stuff can give you that element for sure.
Yeah, for sure. With that, I mean, so many people I get to speak to, especially within the Facebook group, PT Facebook group, is they always like this idea of traveling, and they always want to find the way to open up, to have the freedom to go and do that. And like I live in the UK, but we do travel quite a lot. Me and my wife travel all the time, and also the work we have to do, we do have to work remotely whilst we wait to do that. And I can kind of see exactly where you're coming from there in terms of what it's like to work away, because you always have the same idea when I first started doing it. I think, oh, this is so cool, I can go travel all the time, I work abroad, it would just be like a holiday with a laptop. And it kind of isn't. You just basically do this, like you say, exactly the same routine. It just might be in a hotter environment or a different environment with different people, and which does have its benefits. But it's definitely something you have to get acclimatized to, I think. Yes,
it does. And when I see people posting up photos of them on a beach with a laptop, selling the dream of this travel and work lifestyle, it's a little, as we just say,
have you sat on a beach trying to work on your laptop? The sand in the keyboard and the sun glaring on the laptop does not make it easier.
It's absolutely shit to be on a beach with a laptop on your knee. I just want to rather have the laptop at home, done my work, go to the beach and have a mojito.
Exactly. It's definitely the way to do it.
Yeah. So, just be careful of the advice you get around that, I think. for sure.
Cool. So, okay, talking about advice and stuff there, you obviously start off with Exceed Nutrition, and that grew from strength to strength. And then you start moving into helping and supporting FitPros. So how did that transition happen? Did it something you decided to do? Was it something you kind of fell into by accident? How did that come about?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people now who do a bit of online coaching, it's kind of like this natural thing to now become a business coach after a year.
Yeah, I've made my 6 figures and then
yeah, I've done my 6 figures. Yeah, and now I can teach you how to do them. That just seems to be the norm now. That's what's going on. I have a slightly different entry into that, in that I started the High Performance Living podcast many years ago, pretty much when I first started out, and I started to get on some of these guest experts in our industry, and we would just go deep. We went really deep on some of the topics, and my goal with the High Performance Living podcast, as with most content, is to help you grow that audience and connect with them and provide them value. The problem with that podcast, which was my main thing, I put all my energy into it, I drove all the traffic to it, put all the eyes on it. The main thing I noticed was I went way over the heads of the general public, completely lost them. They weren't interested in protein synthesis and cellular this and autophagy that. No,
it's okay most of the time, do they?
Yeah, right. They don't really care, and I missed that completely because I was trying to educate myself. I was trying to go way above and beyond with the education side of things. And therefore, the people that latched on to that podcast, which was really successful and grew into the thousands, was FitPros, fitness professionals. They were the ones actually tuning into this. And it was then when I realized, when I was going to events and asking people and chatting people, getting messages from people saying they love the podcast, it was personal trainers, it was fitness professionals. And that's when I realized, oh shit, I've grown an audience of fitness professionals here through this podcast and through this channel. And that's when I realized, well, the entrepreneur in me should create a product or service for my audience, for my tribe, to solve their problems. And that's when really I thought, okay, well, let's give this a whirl. Let's put out a survey out there, find out why they are actually listening to my stuff, following my content, signing up for stuff. And we started to create some products and services for the fitness professionals. And I just really enjoyed that. It was an instant success for us because we had already built that audience. We'd find out what they needed. And I really enjoy it because I could relate to it very, very well, as opposed to our typical avatar and niche for health and fitness and nutrition and losing weight. Yeah, I could relate to it, but not as much as the FitPro, the struggling FitPro, because I was a struggling FitPro, really lost. So yeah, I get a lot of satisfaction from helping these people. Yeah.
Cool. Just quickly on that point there about the kind of the FitPros that you attracted doing that. And if you're talking about high performance living, I suppose you're talking about the kind of the science behind what was actually happening, like you've mentioned there already, and obviously that brought the FitPros in. So when you first started working with FitPros, what kind of route was it? Was it more about why and how to coach and that side of stuff, or was it more about how to build and develop a business, or was it a mix of both to start off with?
Initially, I felt because it was so in line with the podcast around nutrition education, it was kind of nutrition educational products and services. And it was like a course, come and do a nutrition course. However, I realized that wasn't truly what they wanted from me. They could get the courses elsewhere. That's all said and done. And really then once I was able to dig into what they truly wanted, things changed quite a bit. We no longer offered the course, and we started getting into things like more resources for the fitness professional, like our coaching program collection or our client recipe packs. That's all evolved from just asking them, what do you want from me? What do you need from us? And this is what we've got. So we're kind of moved from sort of nutrition education courses to really digital products and resources, and particularly like white labeling stuff as well.
Cool. So you mentioned there we could talk a little bit about your podcast in just a second. So I know that's been quite kind of a big part of obviously your business from the early days with Exceed Nutrition to what you're doing now. In terms of the content for that and putting content out there, so any fit pros listening to this, any coaches and trainers who wanted to put content out there, would you recommend podcasts or would you recommend something else? What would you say to that? What kind of stuff would you get people to put out there? Would you recommend people should put out there?
Yeah, it's a good question. I do recommend that you get into a routine, a consistent routine of content creation. Mm-hmm. And I believe that it has to suit your audience, your niche. Like, are they on there? If they're not listening to podcasts, your niche, there's no point in starting a podcast. If your niche is not on YouTube or it's not in Instagram stories, it's probably not worth creating the content there either. So you have to kind of mix a little bit of this in about, is your audience there, the consuming material on that platform? And then you also have to combine it with you, the content creator. It's not just about them, and it's not just about you. You're going to be creating this content more than likely every week for years. So I've tried it all. I've done the written blogs, I've done the videos, I've done the podcasting. And podcasting really felt natural to me. Mm-hmm. And before you say it, I've got a face for radio.
Was I going to say anything?
No, I got that in there myself. It's not because of that. But it was just pretty easy way of creating good content. Mm-hmm. Like, we can chat for an hour on here, on an audio, on a podcast, and people will listen from start to finish. Mm-hmm. Most people that put a podcast into their earbuds will listen to that content. Mm-hmm. Try getting someone to watch a video for 60 minutes. They're gone. They're up making cups of teas. They're gone their way, you know? And the same goes then for like written blogs as well. It's hard to write perfect for thousands and thousands of words. So the spoken form for me really was attractive. Also, with the traveling over the last number of years, I can just take this little microphone, and place it wherever I need to be. I don't have to worry about my lighting. I don't have to worry about my backdrop for videos. I could be in some real shithole and nobody has to know. And I could just deliver so much value to people and get it out there. And it was also something that's, I just gained a bit of experience initially with. But my recommendations are then pick something that you enjoy. It feels comfortable, feels natural for you, and somewhere that your audience are likely going to consume that and want to consume that content. Yeah.
I suppose as well, if you are comfortable with it, comfortable doing it, you're going to be more consistent. I suppose it's just no different from training your clients. If you're giving them something they're not comfortable with, force them to do it, they're not going to be consistent. So I guess it's no different. Yeah. But us as coaches putting content out there, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So with the content creation type of side of stuff, one of the things we get asked a lot inside the group is what content to create. So not just about the media, which we're going to deliver that content, but actually having something to say, something to talk about. And so many people I speak to struggle with that. Have you got any advice on where to go or how to be inspired of what content to put out there for their potential clients?
Yeah, there is two important things I want to talk about around this content creation. We tend to associate that the content creation is just something we got to do. I've got to get on this podcast this week and I got to blurb something out into this microphone for 30 minutes and then I can tick it off and say I've done my content. Now, there is a room and time and a place for this type of content where it's not overly focused on anything specific. Yeah, maybe you've got a topic, you've got a title, something like that. And really that type of content works specifically well in finding out and listening to what your people are asking you. Like, what are they posting into the Facebook group? Are they always talking about pricing? Okay, create some content about pricing. They're going to love it, right? Or if they're always asking about content creation, create some content around content creation, right? So if your clients are asking, about nutrition, your content's around that, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And one of the best ways I stay consistent to that is keeping my ear to the ground and by listening to the questions that are coming into me every day. What's popping up in our Facebook group? Was that a really good question that if I could explain on a podcast for 15, 20 minutes and really give a detailed answer? Okay, write it down. That can go out in a couple of weeks' time. What are people sending in to me via email? What's coming in each day? And I keep a record of a lot of these questions. And that is really the basis. That's the start of that type of content. Yeah. Just what are people asking? What are they struggling with? Or people send me in like their web pages, their websites to be reviewed. Mm-hmm. And I can start to see trends and patterns. And I can take those trends and patterns and those common things that I'm seeing people going wrong with, and I can then create the content to solve that for a larger number of people. Yeah. So what's the trends? What's the patterns? What are people asking you? That's some of the best content. And when I started to do that, instead of just sitting down and going, what 4 topics can I talk about each week here for the next month? How about this? How about that? How about this? Instead, I'm literally putting down the questions I've been asked, and I've found that my content resonates so much more with people as a result. And we can put out a particular podcast now, and I'll get replies saying, that was a freaking epic. That was the one I needed to hear. You know, and that's because if one person's asking you that question, you can bet there's other people who are thinking that question. Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of my first bit around content. Mm-hmm. All right. And then there's a time and place for that. However, as I've said, there is this sort of idea around content that, I just need to get something out there. I need to publish this. It's Thursday. I got to get this out there. That can be fine. And you do want to settle into a routine of getting some stuff out there. But content should serve us in a way that moves people closer to doing business with us, buying your products, buying your services, taking you up on your coaching offers or whatever your offer is, right? And by just pumping out content about nutrition, about dieting and about weight loss, et cetera, yes, it can be useful, it can be valuable, but it may not necessarily move people closer to a sale with you. And therefore, certain types of content and content that typically that we would classify as evergreen content or funnel type content, as in an ebook, a free download, something like that. And as well, something is very important is like an email autoresponder sequence, right? Maybe 5 or 6 emails that every new subscriber would get. Maybe it's a webinar, something like that, right? Content like that needs to be structured differently. It's not just about going, I'm going to put these 5 pieces of content together and push it all out there in autoresponder and hope they're going to buy at the end. That type of content, I believe you really need to focus on people's belief systems. And you need to focus then on what does that person believe right now? And what do I need them to believe before they say yes to my product or service? Right? So what do they need to believe? What do they need to agree to? What do they need to realize before I say, hey, buy this thing? Because you can bet that everyone, and we see the world every day, each and one of us, through a unique set of beliefs. You have your own set of beliefs, Ash, about building an online fitness business or about coaching your clients. And I do too. And I have it about everything, right? About raising kids, about buying houses, all of that stuff. We have our own unique beliefs. And therefore, you want to map out around this type of content, a belief system, starting at the end point where someone says, hell yes, I want to lose weight with your program. What are the beliefs that they're going to have before they reach that point, and where are they now? Yeah?
Yeah, definitely makes sense.
So like if you take an example around a vegan, okay, you're the vegan coach, you want to sell a vegan coaching plan to somebody because you believe veganism is the future. It's best diet to follow. We'll say nothing else about that, right? We'll just leave it there. Okay. So someone coming into your funnel, they want to improve their diet, whatever. Okay. What objections maybe we have? We may have the fact that a belief that veganism is extreme. Okay. So maybe in that content, in your ebook or in an email, you will be able to break down that belief that veganism isn't that extreme. Okay. Or maybe they'll have a belief that I can't do vegan because I haven't got a vegan store near me to buy all the products and services. Then you need to break that belief down and say, well, actually, a lot of the general supermarkets these days contain vegan products. Yeah?
Yeah.
Or they may say, okay, well, I can't do veganism because I'll be tempted to eat that ribeye steak on a Friday night with my husband. Well, you need to say, well, you know what? We've got some ribeye alternatives that you can still eat as a vegan. And you see the process that we're kind of going through with this content. So just putting an ebook together and saying, hey, I've given you this ebook, now buy my stuff, isn't always the best strategy with the content. With this content, it should be strategic. It should be taking people through the beliefs, through the objections that they typically would have around buying your product or service, breaking them down, reinstalling different beliefs, remolding that belief system, and then presenting your offer. And when you can get your content to do that, it just starts working. The content marketing thing that we all hear about, that's when it actually starts to work, and work very quickly, as well, as in people can download that free thing. They can go through 3 or 4 emails and they become a customer. And that's when you have a very powerful set of content and a sequence.
That's so cool. I really like that. I love the way you put that as well, and a good example for it. I suppose in order to do that, you really do have to understand your clients, and really do understand your clients do it. I guess that's the key part of it. Yeah, I think if I know, again, we have this in the group quite a lot. There's a lot of people that kind of maybe have a lot of diversity in the programs that they want to offer. They want to offer something to everybody. And imagine if you went down that approach, that could be quite a time-consuming way to go about creating that sort of content. So have you got any advice for anybody that maybe has that level of diversity, and any advice of where they could go to create that content, or something they should do in order to make it easy to create that content?
Yeah, well, I do think that if you are operating online, trying to appeal to everyone is not the best thing to do. I'm sure this has been said a million times, so I'll not bore people with avatar and niches, but it is important. It really is. And that is certainly a big reason why, through my own training, I'm sure you guys as well, the avatar, the niche should be picked right back at that planning stage and focusing on that side of things, because it makes all these other steps, like we've just talked about, the chain of beliefs, mapping out content, so much easier, as opposed to trying to appeal to everybody. So unless you are having a lot of success being the help everyone type person, I'm not sure I know too many people who are, then my advice would be to pull it back a little bit, see if you can narrow your scope, and see if you could get that sort of ideal customer and client, and profile them, in particular their beliefs and what they may be thinking.
Cool. Sure. That's awesome. That was awesome. Listen, we talked about that. We've talked a lot about kind of the business side of your story so far. And I'm also aware of the time. I don't want to keep you too long. I'm sure you've got much more fun things to do in Barcelona than talk to all those guys. But we did have some questions that were put forward that people want to ask you about this. And one of them was to do with actually nutritional coaching, delivering nutrition, biased nutritional coaching online, as in that's something that you've just been heavily involved with. And your approach is very similar to the kind of approach that I like to use, and I use for my coaching as well. So I've got quite a big interest in this. And have you got kind of any advice for somebody wanting to deliver nutrition online? Because one of the big issues that a lot of people bring up, a lot of coaches seem to bring up, or trainers bring up, is that they'll ask them to do something. They might give them some macros, the calories, say, go in and eat like this for the next 4 weeks, and then in 4 weeks we'll change it again. And they just don't stick to it. They deviate off, they just don't do it, they get confused. What kind of advice could you give somebody like that? What kind of approach could somebody take to help deal with that?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things that we could do. I think for myself, there's a few things that I really like to do. The first thing is I like to try and categorize the client that I have, in that I kind of look at them as beginner and developing and accomplished clients. And over the years, I work with them all. And maybe you're niched and you're only working with beginners, which would make creating your systems and your processes a lot easier. But for me, by having these 3 different categories, I would have different coaching strategies at the ready to kind of solve their problems a lot faster. Like for a beginner client, for example, who's never changed their nutrition or their diet before, that's a typical sort of level 1, throwing them a meal plan and a set of macros to go and follow for the next 4 weeks, there's a huge chance that's not going to stick. That's not going to work. So for me, I saw a lot of success in using a habit-based approach with these type of clients in particular. And really for all clients, this habit-based approach has worked really, really well, because it simplifies things to the point where we only have one thing we need to focus on, one habit, and it does a lot of stuff, right? As in, it really does get them to be accountable each and every day, not just once a week to that check-in, each and every day to take that small step. And it's not overwhelming anybody, and it's not too much to deal with each and every day. And I find that was really, really effective of doing that individually with people and in a group type scenario as well. So you could set your sort of 14-day habits for clients individually. So you would assess them and say, okay, this client really needs to up their protein. So your habit for the next 14 days is to go and eat some lean protein with every meal. It's really simple. We've heard this stuff before, but it does really work. And then you could do it in a group type scenario. I find this worked well for our membership site, if you want to do it, or if you've got a large Facebook group and you're looking more engagement and more adherence into there. Dropping in the habit coaching system in there can work fantastically well too, in that you could do it as a group. Okay, this week, guys, or for the next 2 weeks, we're focusing in on eating lean protein with every meal. Here's the thread. We're going to check in each and every day if you've done it. That can work great for building up a community and engagement. And when we've got engagement, we've typically got more adherence. And then we've got adherence, we've got more retention. So these little things can work well. Of course, when we got our level 2 clients, yes, using things like macros can work really well, getting those guys, but still keeping that base of habit coaching can work really well, particularly even if they're just using it as additional sort of challenge or thing to do. Can all benefit from improving their, hydration levels, or they're getting more sleep habits. Some software helps enormously these days too. You guys have got a good product. I hear good things around PT Distinction.
Cool.
And yeah, I do. You've got a few loyal fans from my side as well, from our members as well, who are singing the PT Distinction praise. So there's obviously scope there to help deliver your information better and more consistently and more clearer to clients using coaching software. And I think I'm certainly converted. If I was to go back and start coaching people with their health and fitness and nutrition again, I would be putting the habits into coaching software. I'd be getting them to check in on the software, updating, and I touched a bit as well. I'm throwing a lot of stuff here. If you want to go something, we can go it. But there's a lot, right? We can do to nutrition coach people online successfully. A community element is very important. It could be something really simple like a Facebook group. It's probably the easiest thing to do. But setting up my Facebook group for our members and our customers was one of the best things I ever did. You kind of live and die by your group a little bit.
Sorry about it.
Yeah, I bet you guys know you got a lot more people in there than I do in mine. But the value there that people can receive if you can create a good community is totally invaluable, and it can help you, no question of a doubt, deliver your information better. They can seek support from your other customers, your other clients. They feel like they're doing it with others, which is also something you lack online, particularly with coaching, is that people just kind of feel they're on their own, really. They've hired a coach, but they're still on their own. So that community element can really, again, improve that retention and adherence.
That's cool. Some good advice there, especially on the community side. I think community is everything really when it comes to it. Just making people feel part of something. It really does help, especially on the adherence side. And even from a business point of view, they're more likely to stay with you a lot longer. You must have long-term client retention, I find, with people involved in the community. Interesting enough, we spoke a bit earlier about some resources and stuff that you offer. And we talked a little bit there about these kind of different sections of kind of like the habit side of it, delivering macros and these different levels of clients. What kind of I know you've got these, so it's a bit of a leading question. But what kind of resources have you got that could help a coach or a trainer or a PT deliver that stuff online? I know you've got these big resource packs. Can we talk about those a little bit?
Yeah, thanks, man. Well, basically, I spent many, many years coaching all of these different diverse clients online. I had fat loss clients, I had athletes, I had competitive people, bodybuilders, strong men, skiers over the years who needed more advanced stuff. I had the general public looking to lose a few pounds. I was doing the bodybuilding back then as well, so I definitely had a lot of people inquire about putting on muscle, getting bigger, getting stronger. I had clients then that would come looking to lose weight, but they were eating 1,000 calories a day. I was like, oh my God, you need to eat more to begin with. So we would start doing, we would give them more food. And as well, I'd have clients that were just like digestive problems, skin problems, all of that stuff. So I eventually created like 6 or 7 different programs that I would typically assess a client and be able to quickly say, this would go well with this client. And it started initially with me personalizing those for that individual client. And then we moved to more of a group type model. And then we kind of scaled the programs so that anybody coming in could be matched to a program and do it all themselves. And I had these great assets. And then we were able to say, well, trainers, coaches, would you like to access these? And they said, hell yes to that. And that's when the coaching program collection was born and created. And really, it's a set of white label, fully brandable coaching resources, pretty much A to Z for nutrition coaching. And there's some lifestyle stuff, and there's some training stuff in there. There's progress recorders in there, templates, education for your clients. There's all the habits laid out. There's how to do the macros, why they're important, how to adjust the macros, depending on the program, right? And it's been one of our most successful resources for trainers and coaches. And it's about to, next week, we're going to release version 3.0.
Oh, nice.
So if you've got those, everyone gets upgraded to those.
Okay.
So
where can people find that? Where do they go to if they want to get hold of that?
Well, right now you'll find it basically on the exceednutrition.com homepage. Head over there, scroll down the homepage. You'll see a little bit more information about the programs, and you'll be able to find them there as well.
Awesome. I'll pop a link, if it's okay. I'll pop a link for that in the group as well, so people can access it with a video, which is really cool. And I'll keep pushing you for time at the moment. There's just one more little thing I just want to talk about. I always ask everybody who I've ever spoke to on here about 3 top tips. So like either to summarize stuff we've talked about already, or maybe what your kind of 3 top tips are for anybody starting out in an online business or an online coaching business, and what they can do to basically start growing that business. So just like quickly 3 top tips.
Okay, quickly. Well, I'm going to have to come back to my very first thing we chatted about when you said what has been the biggest thing that's moved the needle for you. And that comes back to consistency. Mm-hmm. It really does. I've worked with hundreds of trainers now with their online businesses, and the guys and girls who are consistent with it are the people that go on and start making a great income with it. They're the guys and the girls that can quit their jobs. They're the guys and the girls who can go off traveling. The guys and the girls that can make a good income and report that as well. And the ones that are kind of dabbling in and out, maybe they think it's going to be easy. Maybe they just haven't got the time right now to really go all in on it. It's disappointing because they just haven't given it enough time, enough effort to go in there. So it kind of goes with my second point, I suppose, in that if we're thinking about that, you have to go into this with the long-term game in mind, if I'm honest with you, then it kind of goes with my second point in that don't believe the hype. In that, I don't know about you, as soon as I look at some business mentor's page, Facebook decide to show me every other ad, someone else who's promising to take me to a 6-figure business. And then once I'm a 6-figure business, there's someone out there taking me to a 7-figure business. And once I'm a 7-figure business, there's someone who's going to give me the magic secret to 8-figure business. And it's never ending. It's never ending. And the some of the crap that we have to consume, unfortunately, through some of these adverts and marketing right now, I think is at its all-time worst. I feel bad for the people, the trainers and coaches who are maybe not as clued up and as educated around this sector as maybe you and I are, who will fall for that type of marketing. And they'll see, oh, I built my 7-figure business in a couple of months, and if you buy my thing, I'm going to show you how to do the same. Or I charge $10,000 for my program. If you buy my for $10,000, I'll show you how to sell $10,000 programs. And it's sad. It's disappointing. It's a difficult, it's almost a minefield out there. So don't believe the hype. It does take a long time. It does take consistency. Try not and get caught up with that type of marketing and those sort of false promises, which I'm pretty confident that they are. Yeah. For the most part, really. And try and, just take a moment to pause on the information you're consuming and the people that you're following, and just think about back at, like, does that match up? Is that realistic?
Yeah. Does it seem too good to be true? Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Normally it normally is.
It normally is, unfortunately. Right now it is. So that's kind of my sort of the second tip. Mm-hmm. Third tip, I haven't really thought of that. I think, what can we put into there?
Yeah, we could have two if you want to have two.
Two is that have some fun in the process. I speak with a lot of people who sound very stressed out, very, very serious around it. They're having some problems. I think you have to take a lot of the failures with the wins that come as well, and be prepared for those, because they are going to happen. As I've said, I've tried everything. Everything wasn't a success. In fact, a very small percentage has been a success, but that's enough to be able to take you forward step by step, as long as you can get some of those small wins from those failures as well. And that's all kind of adding up to part of the experience, really, as being an online business owner, as being a fitness entrepreneur.
Yeah, definitely. I think win or fail, you've got to make sure you enjoy the ride most of the time.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I think so. And if you're doing stuff that you don't get a lot of satisfaction from, and you're doing that most of the day, then you want to look at that. You want to assess that, because if I do that and I start doing tasks or projects I don't enjoy, or they become a pain to me, I either have to change something in my business, or I have to potentially hire somebody to do that for me. Yeah. So you want to make sure that you're building the right business model for you as well, so that you actually enjoy coaching clients and it doesn't become rigorous and time consuming. And you're like, oh no, I've got to speak to this client in 10 minutes. Oh no. So
there's nothing worse. I suppose if you're not going to enjoy your business you're doing, or if you don't feel comfortable doing it, or even passionate about it to some extent, you're not going to be able to be consistent, and you're not going to be able to put the time into it, because you're just not going to want to.
Exactly. And
those key things you're talking about.
Yeah. And this could be even important advice right back at the start when you're picking a niche, for example. Okay, don't go into a niche that you just think is popular or you can make the most money in, because you're going to have to serve that niche likely for many years. And if they're not resonating with you, they're not your people, and you don't really know what they want and how they feel, you're not going to enjoy that process.
Cool. That's awesome advice there. I mean, we've talked a lot about the business side of stuff today. And so where can people go to find out? If they want to listen to you, we talked about your podcast. So where can they go to find out more about what it is you do, what it is you offer, and more awesome value and advice? Where can they go?
Yeah, sure. I know your guys are really interested in the online stuff, but we also have the nutrition coaching resources, etc. My real core platform, as we chatted about, is the podcast. If you guys listen to the podcast, then come over to the podcast. It's called the FitPro Masterclass podcast. You'll find it on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher. Have a look at that. There's a weekly episode going on around business, education, and particularly the online fitness business side of things. That's always worth a listen each week, if I do say so myself.
And some good stuff in there. Definitely some good stuff.
Yeah, there's some nuggets now and again. And really check out exceednutrition.com if you're interested in nutrition coaching and nutrition coaching resources. Really cool stuff like the coaching program collection and done for you monthly client recipe packs. And then if you're more interested in the sort of business education, marketing, sales online as a fitness professional, check out exceedmasterclass.com and have at it there. Go to your heart's content. There's blogs on there. There's articles, webinars, ebooks, and of course, And of course, our paid membership site as well. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'll put if it's cool with you, I'll put all the links in the comments into the post as well for everyone. Just quickly on this, I know we said was just going to be live inside the Facebook group, but me being the tech guy, I can't make the tech work. So we obviously recorded this one in there. But I will put all these links into the post and we'll put this video up as well. Cool. Rue, thank you so much for that. That was incredible. Some absolute golden nuggets inside there. So yeah, that was great. Thank you very much. And of course, I'll add you into the group as well, so you can say hello to people if you want to and get involved. And I'm sure many people will probably try and tag you and ask you a lot of questions. So you may regret coming in. Who knows? Awesome. So Rue, thank you very, very much. That was incredible. And yeah, thank you for joining us. It's been awesome.
Yes, thanks very much, Ash. Been a pleasure.
No worries. Cheers, guys. I'll see you all soon.